Hello everybody, my name is Julo, and today I'm going to be going over the new Karamelle spells that have been released in the test realm. I'm currently recording this on Saturday, October 31st, spooky day. So any changes that happen on the Monday this goes up will not be covered. But yeah, let's just get right into things. And one thing worth mentioning before we get into things, actually, all of these have spellment paths, and I'll talk about those a little later. But because they have spellment paths, you can't make them into TCs, which I think is dumb. Like, it was sudden when it happened for Krampus and Reindeer Knight. It was straight out weird when it happened for the level 1 and level 5 spells. But if this is gonna be the norm from now on, PvP is gonna look very different. I see a lot of people stopping at level 130 for PvP, and it's gonna become, I guess, the new Exalted. And I can totally see why. I mean, if you have to pack hits in main, that's gonna screw up deck building. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see if they change their minds on that. I still personally think that the first little part of the spellment path, or the non-spellmented version, should be able to be TC-ified, if that makes sense. But I don't know. It's all up to the devs on that one. So right now I am looking at the new fire spell, and from what it looks like, I know the card in what's on screen right now is enchanted, so about 1100 damage to about 1230 damage. That's, I guess it's balanced for the pip cost. It is 7 and a shad, like we all kind of expected. The after effect is a little interesting. It adds another 15% fire damage to the next overtime that you use. And from a PvPer's perspective, this means you can just do this and just fire elf right after. So it's kind of interesting because it's not a mechanic we've seen before. It's unique, but I don't know. I'll have to see how that one plays out, because it doesn't seem like it's unbalanced, but I don't know. You never know. Somebody might throw on a burning rampage or something. Pain, actual pain. But somebody might just burning rampage out of this, and that'd be bad if you couldn't pull the triage, I'll say that much. But yeah, on to the next spell. Next up, we've got the ice spell called Shatterhorn, and it looks like it's pretty powerful. It's like a straight up damage hit, which I like to see, because ice has some pretty weak hits in their arsenal, but it's looking like this is gonna do around about 1,000 average, and then taunt the enemy for 1 turn. And how this works is, once the enemy is taunted, that enemy can only target you. So I think a minion type strat would be kind of interesting if you like used the minion and then did this if they didn't kill it, because I don't know, the minion would just still be alive. But I like to see this. I think it's a pretty good spell. I'll look into the spellment paths here in a bit, but overall, pretty solid. It's got a good mechanic with it, and I don't know, maybe people won't just spam A-bomb anymore. But we'll find out. Now for Storm, we've got Sound of Musicology. And it's an AoE. It does 885 to 1025 storm damage with an interesting mechanic here. It gives you a blade after you use it for some reason, and it's 3%. It's a 3% storm blade, and it goes up by 3% for every, I guess, opponent you defeat. The utility seems a bit useless, especially considering that it's shaving off a lot of damage from the spell. I mean, the low end of this for 7 pips in a shed does quite a bit less than Nerf Bugs does for 5 pips in a shed. And yeah, I mean, again with the whole spell limit thing, the spell limits, from what I know, seem to fix it. The damage problem at least, but the utility, I don't know. The utility I don't think is that great. I think if it were like a Queen Calypso type utility where it puts the blade on before you, then it could be good, but even still, like, it's too low of a value, I think, to be, I guess, part of the spell. I think that they just wanted to put some sort of utility on the spell, but Chief, this was not the utility to put on the spell. I can tell you that much. But it might be interesting. I really don't see this being used in PvP at all, unless somebody uses like a minion. But even still, like, you'd only get a plus 3% damage buff out of that, so I don't know. But yep, moving on. Myth. Now, this has issues written all over it. I mean, just have a look at the damage. 590 to 730 myth damage for 7 pips and a shadow pip. So that means Orthrus at level 48 is still better than a level 130, I guess, spell. But the real issue that I have here as a PvPer is the confuse effect. It's only a chance to confuse, but if it should happen, like, Team PvP is gonna completely die if people use this. And so I guess I should probably break down what confuse actually does. If you've ever fought Medulla, which if you're watching this video and you're about to get these spells, you probably have, you know that he likes to use this effect called confuse. And what it does is, it's like a beguile on steroids. If you try to blade yourself, there is a chance that you could put it on somebody on the other team. If you try and hit, like with an AoE or something, it could attack your entire team. And plenty of others. Like, if you, with a beguile, you can't hit them. You can't hit the other person. But with this, you need to have a bubble in hand. When I was fighting Medulla, I found that just having a bubble in hand at all times and being able to use it was a good enough counter. But I mean, dude, when it comes to PvP, like, if you try and use this, if you have a minion out, for example, and somebody confuses you with a spell, and you try and go for your, I don't know, like, quad-bladed Vengeful Seraph and Shrike, I don't know why you'd have a minion out as a death, but, you know, let's say you did, then there would be a chance for you to burn all of your pips and blades on your minion. I don't like that. I think that Myth really deserves an AoE spell that does more than Orthrus for PvE purposes, and a spell that when used, shouldn't be catastrophic from a PvP perspective. So, I don't know, man. It's like, I can't get behind the damage and the effect. Like, if it were like 790 to 930 on an AoE, like, I'd be totally fine with that. And maybe have it do some sort of after effect, but dude, I really don't know. And I haven't even seen the spell elemental path for this yet, but knowing what the others do, I really feel like that confused chance goes up. So we're gonna see if that's the case. The life spell, Grenadier. Nice little duck hunt reference there. It does about the same damage as the ice one, and then it puts the pacify effect on yourself for 1 turn. And the pacify effect is being changed to where you cannot be targeted if you are pacified. And a tweet by Mattnetic shows that in 1v1 PvP, this little effect here is going to be entirely useless unless you have a minion out. So I can see that little Sprite Guardian becoming a lot more meta now, especially with the Spellment path. But he said specifically targeting, not hitting, but targeting. So basically what I'm hearing is a life can Shrike and then use this, or then use this and Shrike, and they won't be able to be targeted if they have a minion out. So it's, I don't know. It feels overpowered, but it also doesn't feel overpowered because you need to have a minion out and anybody can just kill it. But this feels useless if you are just like alone and questing. So I guess it's kind of a feels bad that life didn't get a good shadow AoE again. Maybe in Wallaroo or whatever the next world is, we'll get a good shadow AoE for life, but for right now, this effect I'm a little on the fence about, cause yeah, like even though you need a minion for it to be useful in 1v1 PvP situations, if you do have a minion out and the other person doesn't kill it, then it might be a little broken. Especially if you have the bottom path of the Spellment thing done. So yeah, that is Grenadier. So for the death one, called Snack Attack, the card on screen is enchanted, and then the accuracy is also bugged, so yeah, that is still a bad sign though, because the damage is extremely low. The utility is great, but the damage is low. So basically this is like you shift any like weaknesses or something onto your opponent, and then it does the damage. Like, I don't know if you saw some of the other spells, but I'm pretty sure this card is epic enchanted, and it's not even breaking 1,000. So to me, it's looking like Death just got shafted again with spell damage, but at least the mechanic is useful. I personally would really want to see the damage get increased by about, I don't know, 200-300. Like, what's on the screen right now looks about right for Karamelle. So, I mean, it looks alright. Like if I were to get Ifrited, then I would use this, but other than that, it's pretty situational, and I would just use Kurlu if I wanted to use an AoE in PvP, because at that point I would just drain if I wanted to use Kurlu. So yeah, moving on. So for balance, the card you're seeing on screen is, again, enchanted, but the after effect here is a little iffy, because it converts 50% of your remaining buffs, if you have any. Well, it converts all of your remaining buffs into 50% of what they were. So let's say you had like a TC Elemental Blade, it would go from a 40 Elemental Blade to a 20 Elemental Blade. So I guess it's interesting. I don't really see the need for that little utility, but I don't know. It's alright. I don't really see this being an issue in PvP either. It just seems like a solid enough hit for balance wizards to use. So, yep, not really a problem at all.